Woo! Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Power Rangers Season 3, Episode 6 of my show, but this is about Episode 5 of Season 3. Now, Episode 5 in Season 3 is Part 2 in the Ninja Quest 4-part episode, so basically this episode's going to carry over from where the previous part left off. So if you guys remember, back when I did the previous part, at the end, the Rangers, actually, before I actually start talking about it, this is, not this part, but the next part is going to introduce a new character, one of the new characters, which I explained in my character bio video. I just wanted to get that out of the way there before I continued. But anyway, now getting back into what I was saying, this is History of Power Rangers Season 3, Episode 6 of my show, but this is about Episode 5 of Season 3, and Episode 5 in Season 3 is Part 2 in the Ninja Quest 4-part episode. Now, the way this episode first starts off is the Rangers are still out of their Megazord, and because their Megazord's been destroyed by this point, and then they're wondering, Kimberly's wondering what to do about the Megazord, and then, because she's looking at it, and then Billy says that it's totally trashed, and then basically Tommy's a little bummed out because he tells them, oh man, it looks like we not only lost our Zords, we also lost our powers, which is technically true, because technically their Zords were connected to their powers. So with the Zords destroyed, their powers are essentially useless, which basically weakens them. And then Billy says because of them losing their powers, they can't teleport, so they gotta walk back to the command center. And I can't remember, but I think it's also Billy, because he mentions that it's gonna be a long walk. And then basically what happens is, then it goes into a scene where Rita and Zed and Rito and Goldar are on the moon. And Zed's like, ah, my friends, we have executed the ultimate victory. By destroying their Zords, we have, once and for all, taken the power out of the Power Rangers. And then they're all celebrating that, and then Rita is saying that she's proud of her brother, and then Rito says that he's proud of him too, and then Goldar gets a little annoyed by that, because he's like, oh, with 4 monsters helping me, I could do it as well too. I could destroy them too. So he's a little annoyed that Rito destroyed the Rangers, but in a technical sense, the only reason he destroyed them was because he had the monsters to help him out. But still, that's the reason why it's still funny and stuff. And then basically, Rito starts arguing with Goldar about that, and then Zed quiets them and he's like, silence! With the Power Rangers cut off from their powers, they are weak, which gives us a chance to destroy them once and for all. And then after that, what basically happens is, by this point, the Rangers are back in the command center, because by this point they had walked all the way back from where the Zords were destroyed to the command center and everything. And then basically what happens is, after that, they're explaining to Zordon about the situation and about what happened with their Zords being destroyed and everything. And, about them also losing their powers. And now the part about them losing their powers, I'm just gonna mention this very quickly. This is the first time in Season 3 where they will lose their powers. Now, what I mean by first time is it'll happen again in the Mighty Morphing Alien Rangers mini-saga segment of Season 3, which I am also going to cover as a part of Season 3 and everything. I just wanted to bring that up since I mentioned them about losing their powers in this 4-part episode, in the previous part of this 4-part episode, and them mentioning that. Anyway, basically what happens is, when they get back to the command center, they tell Zordon the situation with what happened with their Zords and their powers, and they're wondering how they can defeat Zed without their powers and stuff. And then one of the Rangers asks, I can't remember which one precisely, but one of them asks where their powers came from in the first place. And then Zordon explains to the Rangers that a long time ago, a great sage known as Ninjor created the power coins to be used for good. And then, now, I'm gonna introduce Ninjor later on in this episode, but I just figured I'd bring him up since Zordon mentioned him. The reason why I don't want to bring him up fully until they get to the temple is because, supposedly, according to Zordon, the whole thing about, Ninjor's existence, as well as the temple where he lives in, is sort of a myth. And the temple, this is gonna sound kind of funny, but the temple, it's got a weird kind of name that it kind of lives up to. And what I mean by that is the temple is located in a place called the Desert of Despair. And then basically, what happens is, the Rangers decide to try to find this temple in order to reconnect their powers and everything. Now I'm just gonna backtrack here to Zed and Rita because they're still celebrating the Rangers powers being taken away, and then by this point Rita is still getting annoyed with Rito about not telling her what's in the eggs and stuff, and then by that point she gets so annoyed with him, she's like, "You've got 10 seconds to tell me what's in those eggs." And then she starts counting from 1 up to the number 10, but then Goldust hits the number 10, and then that's when Rito realizes what's in the eggs. He's like, 10! 10, that's it! Tengas! That's what's in those eggs! And then that's like, Tengas? And then he's surprised by that because I think he's also surprised because he's happy about it. And then Rita's also happy about it with Rito because she's like, she's a bit sarcastic when she says this, but she says, "Tenga Warriors? You got me, Tenga Warriors!" And well, after Zed gets surprised about the Tengas, he's like, "Yep, for you and my big sister." And then Rita gets surprised by that, and she makes a little bit of a, I guess you could kind of consider it a sarcastic remark, because she's like, "Tenga Warriors? You got me, Tenga Warriors? Oh, I could kiss you." Now, this is the part where this is what I mean by I say it's sort of sarcastic because of what she says next. After she said she could kiss him, she's like, "If you weren't so revolting." Get it? Because his name's Rito Revolto, so it's kind of disgusting. So she could kiss him, but can't really because he's so disgusting and stuff, which is kind of funny. And then she tells them about the Tengas, and apparently what the Tengas are the most ferocious. She's like, "The Tenga Warriors are only the most ferocious creatures this side of the universe." And then Zed gets ecstatic about that, and he's like, "My very own army of Tenga Warriors. Without the Rangers to stand in my way, imagine the possibilities." And then he gets happy about that. And then, by this point, what happens is the Rangers are starting their journey in the Desert of Despair, and then basically, Zed and Rita are sort of celebrating the fact that the Rangers' Zords are destroyed and finding out that they're also going to have some new Tenga warriors to help destroy the planet. And then that's when the Tengas hatch from the eggs, and then Rita gets ecstatic about the Tengas hatching. And this is the funny part, because what happens is after the Tengas hatch from the eggs, what happens is one of them says, I thought we'd never peck our way out of there. And then one of them says what they should do. And then one of the other Tengas says that, well, I'd say, since we're birds, the first order of business is to learn how to fly. Which is technically true, because the Tengas are basically these crow-like monsters, which I explained in the previous part. And basically a crow is a type of bird, and birds fly, so basically since they're like a bird-like foot soldier for this third season, the first order of business is simple: they should learn how to fly and stuff. And then as they start flying around, Rita notices after they manage to start flying, and the Tenga's little music thing also plays with it, and happy, happy birdies in the sky, angels gonna get you. Actually, the song stuff I'm gonna save until the next part, but anyway, after the Tengas hatch from the eggs and start flying around the castle, Rita gets a little surprised by that, and she's like, oh, they're beginning to circle the castle. And then she said that she likes the Tenga warriors. And then basically Rito is saying that he's glad she likes them. And then basically he says that, you know, and basically he tells her that getting a present for her has never been easy. And then he states as an example about when her parents got her this other thing and she wanted this, but instead of her parents got her this cute little, where she wanted this other thing, but her parents got her this cute fire-breathing dragon, and she used the dragon to burn down the house. And then she's looking through the repulsive scope, and she sees that one of the eggs hasn't hatched. And then when she sees one of the eggs didn't hatch, she's like, "Hey, what's with that egg? It didn't hatch." And then basically Goldar says that he thinks it might be a dud, but then Rito explains that no, it didn't hatch because it's not a Tenga egg, because the egg is special. There's something very special about that egg. You just can't remember what. And by this point, the Rangers have also started looking for the temple in the Desert of Despair, because because Zordon and Alpha had given them the map, and had started looking for it. And then when they teleport to the Desert of Despair, they get startled by it, and then they get scared by what the place is. And then basically Billy says that, remember, Zordon said this place is known as the Desert of Despair. And basically one of them says that it kind of lives up to its name and everything. And then they start walking to where the temple is and stuff. And then this is the part where Kimberly sort of gets a little upset that they don't have their powers anymore, because she's like, boy, I miss teleporting. I'll never take it for granted again. Oh my god. And then basically what happens is after that, because they're using the map to try to find the entrance to the temple, which is in the Desert of Despair. And then as Rita and Zed are still celebrating the fact that the Tengas, Zed uses his visor to look down onto the earth, and then he sees that, and he's like, when he sees the Rangers in the desert, he's like, will nothing stop those power brats? Those troublesome teenagers are making their way through the Desert of Despair. And then when Rita hears Zed say that, she's like, what? They must be looking for that lost temple, which means they're looking for the ninja powers. We've got to stop them. And then that's when Rito finally remembers why the final egg that he placed didn't hatch, because he's like, now I remember about that egg. And then he tells them that it's not, he's like, it's not a Tenga. It's a vampirus monster. And then basically when Finster hears about the vampirus, he's like, ugh, the vampirus is such a nasty creature. Not my cup of tea at all. And then Zed's being a little agitated because the Rangers are close to reestablishing their powers, and he's like, silence! We must stop those Power Rangers from reaching the temple and reestablishing their powers! And then that's when Rita comes up with the plan. Basically, she's like, I got it! Because he tells them that they have to figure out a plan in order to stop the Rangers from finding the temple and reestablishing their Ranger powers. And that's when Rita says, I got it! Send in the Tengas with the vampirus egg. The Tengas can attack the Rangers when they find the temple entrance. And then they can place the egg at the entrance to the temple. That egg outside the entrance to the temple. And then when Zed hears that, he's like, that's brilliant! Once the vampirus egg fully hatches, it can seize the temple's power for our own! So tactically it makes sense in this case, because if the temple is the source to reestablishing the powers, if the vampirus monster captures it, the Rangers won't have any use for their powers. So tactically speaking, it does make sense. Anyway, and then basically Zed's like, fly, Tenga warriors! Carry the egg of the vampirus to the temple and destroy its keeper! And then the Tengas take the egg, the vampirus egg, with them to Earth where the Rangers are and stuff. And then basically the Rangers start fighting the Tengas without their powers. And after a little bit of fighting with the Tengas, they lose the map that they had. And then basically, well, what happens is first the Tengas place the egg near the entrance to the temple as Rita planned, like, because one of the Tengas is like, here's the entrance, here, bring the egg over here, and then one of the other Tengas places the egg in the spot, and then the Rangers deal with the Tengas and manage to not really defeat them, but they get backed into a corner with them, and that causes the map to be destroyed. And then after the map is destroyed, basically what happens is they have to find, the Rangers decide that they have to find their way back to the part of the temple without the map because of it being destroyed and everything. And then Billy says that basically, according to his calculations, that rock formation that was on the map should be around here, but without the map he can't be sure. Because he sees a rock formation that he thinks was on the map, but without it he can't be sure where it is. And then basically what happens is, Rita says that the Rangers are cornered in the temple because he's like, there's only one entrance to the temple and it's blocked with the vampirus egg. And then Zed gets a little annoyed by that, and because he's like, but I wanted the Rangers destroyed before they found the temple entrance. And then basically Rita says that they may have gotten in, but they won't be getting out, which technically is true because if they placed the vampirus egg near the entrance, even if the Rangers got in and the vampirus egg was placed there, they wouldn't be able to get out. So technically it's no harm done. And then after that, there's a little commotion with the Rangers, and then basically, they find this, they end up in the part of the cave where the Desert of Despair ends, and they find out that it's a dead end, and then they, get annoyed by that, and they decide to go back, and then one of them accidentally falls through the portal from the one side, and then basically, I think it's Tommy, and then basically after that, the others follow him inside, And when they follow him inside, it shows off their Ranger colors, and then basically that's where this part stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, I am probably going to try to post it now, and then I'll probably record and upload the next Power Ranger video probably, if I get the chance, probably sometime tomorrow, or if not, the day after tomorrow. But until then, until the next Power Ranger video, guys, until part 3 of this video, because this is going to end part 2, so until part 3 of this episode, guys, just please give this video the real best you guys can, and I will see you guys next time for the next Power Rangers video. So until then, like I always tell you with this series, may the power protect you always.